Is this... Oh my goodness, this is a lot. Okay. Oh. Insert add during break. Unable to create highlight. Unable to add stream marker. Good connection. Well, that is good at the very least. Edit. And hello. I think, did we manage to do it? This is terrifying, frankly. Alright, I think it's live. I think we managed to connect everything. And I think hello. I've been wanting to have a live that is just crafting and chilling. I am! Oh, thank you, Sheila, for letting me know, because this has been... I thought I would be able to go live by 6 p.m. my time, which is almost half an hour ago, and there was a lot more to set up than I thought. So, hello! Welcome to, I don't know, I haven't prepared at all. I have been so intimidated about going live that I haven't actually thought much beyond. I wanted to do crafting and chill live where people can ask questions, I can try to answer them, we can chill out with some crafts. I am making another, let's see if I can get this. I am making another crazy quilt little pouch for a friend because I had an identical piece of backing. So I thought, you know, it's not something to make another video of because I already did that, but it's a very nice, mindless thing to do when you are trying to focus on doing a new thing. Hello, Marion. No. You shouldn't have been expecting lives because I have been terrified by lives for a long time. I keep talking to some of my YouTube, colleagues, Evie from Jillian Eve and Shannon Makes about, oh, I want to do a live, but I'm terrified of lives. Absolutely mortified to not have my usual crutch of being able to edit out my ums and my ahs and all my weird thinking breaks and weird English and trying to think aloud, and not to mention if my cat gets the zoomies and they suddenly destroy everything. My computer is currently like here, like just out of screen, and it's on my ironing board. So I hope that none of them are gonna jump on the ironing board and just topple everything over, so that just everything comes crashing to the ground. Hello. You've been working out the courage too? Yeah, well, this is probably the least professional live that you'll ever see, so if I can do it, you certainly can. But yeah, it took me half an hour plus to manage to get things set up with just one camera and one microphone and nothing fancy. So yeah, if I can do it, you certainly can. We can be noobs together. Like, what a nice... Let's just do the thing anyway. Because that is the one thing that I've learned as a person who exists continually with anxiety, is to just do it scared. I mean, if you have anxiety, I'm sure well you know what I mean, but like, I am terrified of so many things, but if I stopped living life while terrified, I wouldn't get anything done. So I just have that terrified feeling in my chest, and then I'm like, well, we're gonna do it anyway because I want to do it, so let's just do it scared. That's kind of become my life motto in many ways. So you can also do the thing. I believe in you. But yeah, if I'm not looking at the camera, it's because my chat and everything is over here. I did manage to set up my good camera as the streaming camera, but that means that my computer is over here. So I'm reading over here, but you are looking at me probably over there. But yes, chaotic. But yeah, I've been talking to Evie and Shannon and Ariel of us Ariel, and Ariel has been doing a couple of lives, and she said they have been quite a lot of fun. It's a different way of making content from, you know, the curated videos that we usually make, where we get to decide everything and chop out the things where we are just too awkward for this world. And yeah, I must have been bothering them for at least 6 months or so, talking about how I wanted to try this live thing, but never actually working up the courage to actually do it. Yes, do the thing, do it scared, because the anxiety is going to be there anyway. Yeah, you can. Of course you can ask what I'm sewing. I wanted to ask what you were doing too, but I'm doing another of those little crazy quilts that will eventually become a little pouch. Hopefully I learned some things from the last one. I've stitched everything together, so all the patches are in. So now we're on to the embroidery. I have a yellow, so maybe it's not very visible. Don't know if you can see, but I started the very first decorative seam, and it started out really dense and now it's really wide. Yes, it is more patchwork. It's another one because we always have enough patches. I want to do more patchwork projects, but I really like the crazy patchwork. Really appeals to me because it's so loose and fun. But I want to, like, in the pamphlet that I found online that I linked to, there are some pictures of people doing crazy quilting, but in patterns, so like a little sun with some sunbeams and stars and a moon, and I'm not really quite sure how I would wrap my head around doing that with patchwork without sort of wasting a lot of the material. Maybe I need to get over that. Maybe I just need to waste a little bit of scrap fabric just to do the patterns. Maybe that is how that will go. But that is sort of what I want to do to level up my crazy quilting projects. Just see if we can do one with, oh, maybe we could do a cat. Did you do those? I think they're called tangrams. We had this computer game when I was a child where you get all these predetermined shapes. It's not like Tetris, it's like different, like angular rectangles, rhombic things. And like there are squares and there are triangles and they're big and small, and you get different images where you need to fit in all the pieces. And I remember there being a cat, and they were all geometric pieces. So maybe we could do a cat, because that would be fun. You know, I always want to do cats. Maybe we have enough black fabric scraps to do a black cat. That would be fun. But is anyone else making any crafts? Anyone else knitting or sewing or... Oh, you had them as a real puzzle? I didn't have them as a real physical puzzle. We just had them as a computer game, but they must be quite fun to do, you know, by hand physically as well, because then you can make them into anything that you want. That sounds great. But I mean, if you can do it with the geometrical shapes in that game, then surely we can do it with sewing as well. That seems like it should be possible to do. Ooh. Crocheting a new cardigan. That is very, very nice. I keep seeing that people do different, either they do like the big granny squares, or they do like crocheting the whole thing in one go, and I think they're both really cool and interesting. And oh, hand sewing in a dress as well. I love that everyone is actually doing things, because that was exactly what I wanted. That we like sit and chat and share project experiences, and maybe I'll manage to set up some music next time so we don't have the awkward silence when I sit and think about what to say or think about answers and other things. Maybe we can manage that. Surely my epidemic sound license, I'm pretty sure it covers live streams as well. That is similar to video, so maybe we can put up a playlist. That could be nice. But yeah, I've been thinking about knitting a shawl, but I thought to myself, because I have been so anxious, like my heart is still a little bit racing about this live thing. I don't think I would be able to keep counting stitches in my head as I'm trying this new thing, so I was like, we're gonna save it this first time with something that is purely visual, because sometimes it's very nice to just do, something visual where your brain, I feel like it's different, your brain is just doing the thing rather than thinking about what to do. Like I feel like editing a photograph is just a visual thing, like I'm doing it mostly with my eyes, whereas writing I need to engage my whole brain, and then I need to have enough concentration to do that. But yeah, I think there are ways, maybe I will find it next time, that there are ways to do polls, because I thought it could be fun to vote on. If I do a project, then you could sort of vote on where it goes next. That seems, it was fun in my head, and I don't know if I can do it practically, but I think there are ways to do that. But I think that is something for when we level up next time. This is so askew. I want to show you like just how. So I started out with like nice even stitches, and then as I started streaming it just went completely off the rails, and now I'm like, now we're like twice. Stitches are about twice as wide as they were in the beginning. I'm a professional, I swear. So yeah. Hello, Bernie. The knitting a cardigan. Many cardigans here. Cardigans are lovely. I actually bought yarn to make a cardigan for my spouse, and I haven't started it yet, but cardigans are amazing. I mean, I really love sweaters, but being able to open up a cardigan is very, very nice. And while planning a linen skirt I want to sew, that is very nice. I like linen skirts. It's, the more I wear them, the more proof, like people think I'm dying in summer if I'm wearing my wool skirt and my linen petticoats, but insulation works both ways, so it's surprising. Like you can't take the most sweltering days, but it stays comfortable for like 70-80% of the year. I can wear a wool skirt and linen petticoats, and I think that is amazingly cool. And ooh, whether to make a book or a wall hanging, that is clever. So it is a way to do it. I will have to figure that out, because I thought that could be fun in time if we manage to, if we keep this up, if this is not just a one-off where we do it once and then try again. I'm all visual. If I have to count, I need to be looked down without any... Yeah. I hear you. Sometimes, if I'm like not super tired, but like medium tired, I will count small numbers by imagining additional dots in my head, and then like 3 by 3 is 9, and I sort of see the numbers visually if I'm not focused enough to think numbers one up at a time. I don't know if that's going to make sense to anyone else, but sometimes I do it like that and it works. Do whatever works. But yeah, if I'm making a new, I think we can all relate, if I'm putting up, like making a new big knitting project where I need to count 100 plus stitches, then yeah, I cannot be thinking about anything else while I'm doing that, because I will have to go back and think about how to do it again and count again and again and again and again, and I get so tired of it. Counting is not the most fun when you start a new knitting project, but it has to be done, I feel. Can't really do much with sweaters or scarves. Oh yeah, that is tough. That is really tough. I'm also very heat sensitive, but luckily I live in a cooler climate, so I can enjoy all the wool. But yeah, it is no fun being heat sensitive. But I hope you figure out something that you can do with linen that can keep you cozy and nice without melting, because that is not a nice place to be. Ooh, using stitch markers. I've learned to use stitch markers in between pattern repeats. That was something I never did, because when I learned to knit as a child, stitch markers were not a thing. We used a piece of yarn in a contrasting color just to mark the rounds, and then you just had to remember everything else because it was just a round marker and nothing else. And then I learned about stitch markers, and in the beginning I used stitch markers just as a round marker because that was what I was used to, and then later I learned that I could use stitch markers to just give me an easy out in between pattern repeats, which was world changing to me. I had never thought about that being a thing, but using stitch markers to count even when you're putting up new stitches, that is clever. I might have to adopt that and just like put a stitch marker every 10 or 25 and have it be easier that way. That is clever. Hello, the crafting gamer from Denmark. Nice. Some Nordic neighbors. Hello. Yeah, I wanted to do it in the evening, so hopefully we can have a time zone. Like, no time zone is going to work for everyone, but start out with one that works for maybe Europeans and Americans, and maybe we try to do one later that is for Australians, and I don't know. We're making this up as we go. That is... But that is also my life attitude in general. Just sort of do your best and see what happens. Surely. I'm not sure if anyone actually really knows what they're doing. It seems we're all just flying by the seat of our pants and just try out things and see what works. Hello from Toronto. That is nice. We're having so many different people. This is lovely. Another Nerfitiri, also from Denmark. Hello. It's nice to have company while we are... Oh, I always forget that even if I want 2 threads, I still need to pull only one at a time, or we will have a terrible mess. Hello, are you awake? Yeah. And Blaze lying over on my work table, but she seems very comfortable on one of my old wool sweaters. Oh, you're watching the thread, are you? I do try to tell you my embroidery floss is not for you, but that keeps getting ignored. String, after all, is the best of toys. I still use them as round markers. I use yarn to count rows. Yard going upwards every 10 rows. Yes, I really like using yarn to count the rounds, because you can't, like a stitch marker won't tell you how many rounds you've made since you moved the yarn, and I find yarn really useful for that, for counting how many you've done since last time. Denver-ish in Colorado. It's a lot of Americans, which is nice. I mean, it's always a challenge to find a time zone that is semi-functional, because when I'm awake, people are at work, or people are asleep, or people are... I mean, it is what it is. You don't want to come say hi, do you? I didn't... I notice an error in my planning of what to bring. I did bring tea, but I didn't bring any kitty snacks, so that I could lure little Madame Fluff over here and see if she wants to say hello. And I don't really want to use my embroidery floss, because that'll teach them all the wrong things. Hi? I do have a big string though in my pocket, but then we might get playtime child. Hey? Hello. What kind of cat do I have? I have 2 mad voids of no particular breed. They were both adopted, and we have statistics that tell us that, I mean, I love black cats, I think they're adorable, but apparently people don't like them. People don't find them... I mean, it used to be superstition, and part of it probably still is superstition, but there's also the problem that I read someone talk about how people don't want to adopt black cats because they're less photographable, like they're less Instagram worthy, which I think is ridiculous. These babies are adorable, but they're very chaotic, so... And Embla is still very young. She's only a year and a couple of months, I think. She's a year and a year or 3 or 4 months. So she's always still very, very playful. She will run around, yeah, chirping, meowing, asking to be played with, and yeah, she doesn't want to lie still for any lengths of time, unless it is very much on her accord. Did I start sewing as a child? No, not sewing particularly, or that is to say, I wanted to sew as a teenager, but I didn't have anyone to teach me, which is ironic because my grandma sewed, but she didn't. My mom really didn't want to learn to sew, so she never sort of wanted to try to teach any of the grandchildren either, because she had been rejected by my mother, I think, and then she was like, oh no, none of these people want to sew. And you know, being a seamstress 70 years ago was not a very glamorous position. Like, it was very much not quite fast fashion, but you know, factory workers. She worked for Helly Hansen, which is a Norwegian rain gear brand, and you just sit and you sew and you sew and you sew and you sew. It's not, you know, dressmaking and fittings and designer work. It is very much factory work, you know, turning out one thing after the other. So she didn't really teach that on to anyone. So I tried to learn as a teenager, but with very little funds. It was either buy the fabric or get a pattern. You couldn't afford both. So I would always just get the fabric, and YouTube wasn't what it is today. You couldn't learn everything online. And I would mess up quite a few To be honest, I would mess up so much fabric when I was a teenager because I had no idea what I was doing. I was just trying to learn. I chose the wrong fabrics, I chose the wrong materials, I chose the wrong technique. I didn't know how to fit things. I still don't really know what I'm doing, I feel. It just gets slightly better, and I read manuals and read old things and try to learn and be slightly less be slightly better than I was. But I feel like it was a shame that she wasn't able to pass her knowledge on, because she knew a lot. And she would, like her children, so my mother and my uncles would talk about how she could come home with a little bit of fabric, and by the evening she would have a new dress to go dancing with my grandfather. And so she had a lot of skill, but I didn't have the wherewithal to ask for her to teach me, and she didn't want to impose, I guess. It was quite sad. Your mother worked in a shoe factory? Yeah, Denmark does make a lot of good shoes. Madam, can you please not step on my computer? That'll probably break what I'm doing. That is exactly what we were trying to avoid. No kitties on the keyboard. Yeah, that sounds like my grandmother, whose mother and aunts were seamstresses. Yeah. Yeah, it seems the older generation didn't have a lot of good experiences with sewing. It was, something that they had to do, so it wasn't something to strive after. It wasn't something that you should want or do. But my grandmother did teach me how to knit, and she taught me that when I was quite young. I must have been 6 or 7 when I first started knitting. And the fun thing was that I am left-handed. I am very left-handed. Like, if I broke my arm and had to write with my right hand, we would be having severe problems. I am not at all capable of doing anything with my right hand. And my grandma, she started teaching me how to knit, and I knitted left-handed. That's how I started to knit. And my grandma, she didn't think twice about it. She just showed me how to do the thing. She knitted right-handed, so she would just show me and it would be fine. But when I came home and kept knitting like that, my mother told me that if I was going to keep knitting left-handed, if I didn't swap to knitting right-handed, she wouldn't be able to help me whatsoever with what I did. And being a child and having just learned a new skill and barely being able to do it, I very, very slowly taught myself to knit right-handed, and now I do. But it was a lot of work for someone whose brain is not wired to do that right-handed. Same when I was doing archery, but at least the archers knew how to teach me how to do that. But yeah, I started knitting left-handed, and then I went to knit right-handed later. And I didn't do that for a long time, for many, many years, teenagers being like, no, it's not cool, because my mother knits a lot and I didn't want to do that because she was doing the same thing. But especially after I started sewing, and after I started doing this YouTube channel thing, knitting became more fun again, because then it was a distraction from the sewing. It was a side quest to do something else, which was very, very nice. I am making a mess of this stitch. Fantastic. You're the only one in your family that still crafts? Yeah, that is... I feel like it's kind of sad, because there's so much good. there's so many good things about crafting, and we know this. I mean, not just in the term of making something physical in a world that wants us to just buy everything that we own, but it's also, we know that that brain to hand connection is so much better when we can do things like you stave off dementia and you just stay in better mental health for longer if you have something, anything, any sort of physical hobby that you do with your hand, and you have to have that brain to hand connection to do the thing. If that is woodworking or sewing or crocheting, we just know that it's so healthy to have something to keep our hands busy. Yeah, you were forced to knit right-handed in school too? Sorry, I'm very slow to respond to chat. Luckily we are a very slow live, so things aren't running away with you. But yeah, I didn't learn a lot of crafts in school, or that is to say, most of them, like with knitting, I already knew how to do it, so it became just like do this thing, and I was like, okay, I already know how to do the thing. We didn't learn to crochet in school, and sewing was very rudimentary. You know, stitch this apron, stitch this pillowcase, straight seams, no fitting or nothing. Oh, Marion, you knit with both hands? That is amazing. I've heard about people doing that as a way to like circumvent having to do a lot of purl stitches when they knit back and forth. And I understand it in theory, but when I tried doing it, I was like, ooh, I need to do a lot more filling with my brain before this feels natural, because at the beginning it felt very strange, and I had to concentrate a lot on flipping everything the other way around. But that is really cool. That is a super cool skill. That maybe I should practice that more. Maybe I can do that too. I'm sure we can do that thing. I think the book Simple Garments That You Can Sew Yourself from 1974. Oh, that is lovely. Yeah, if I had thought about it, I could have gone to our local library. I did have a bus pass, so I should have gone there and just picked up a how to sew book, but I was so excited about sewing that I just wanted to get the fabric and just get started straight away, which was not very productive. I made a lot of strange things, but my grandmother also, same one, loved to go to flea markets. It was a hobby of hers. She would go there for fun and then come to us with, you know, lots of clothes. And sometimes she would come with big bed sheets and stuff, and they could be practice fabric that we could cut up and turn into other things. That was always a fun thing to practice. You knit backwards. That sounds as in you knit both. Excuse me, madam, this is not a scratching post. Yeah, this is not a scratching post. Pardon? Backwards. As in not just like right-handed and left-handed, but... Ah, interesting. That sounds so cool. Yeah, Jessica, I have heard a lot of people, like more... are starting to practice knitting both left and right so that they don't have to purl, especially if you're doing like patterned cardigans and things like that. I've tried it once, and I could tell that I definitely needed a lot more practice before it would look in any way, shape or form natural or good, because the tension was very, very different. So that is something that, I mean, blocking would help a fair bit, I feel, but maybe not that much. So I definitely needed to work on my tension to get that right. Oh, creatively impatient. I love that. Yeah, I just wanted to do the thing. I wanted to make the dress that I'd sketched. I wanted to do the thing. I have learned as I've gotten older. I have gotten better at it, but when I was a teenager, I just wanted to dive straight into making the thing. And I felt like it shouldn't be that difficult because I could sketch where I wanted the seams to be. Why weren't they in the same place when I sewed the thing? Good evening, Anissa. What kind of martial arts did I practice? I started martial arts when I was a late teenager. So I think I was like 16 or 17, and then I started my local, the town that was nearest to me had karate, Kyokushinkai karate, which is fairly contact based. Like there are a lot of competitions with Kyokushinkai karate, and they are quite intense. It was a little bit too intense for me, so I went with someone I knew from high school, and we did a jiu-jitsu class, but it was not. I learned this later because I kept looking for similar dojos to that. It was a very self-defense oriented jiu-jitsu, not Brazilian jiu-jitsu at all. It was a lot more focused on getting out of situations, getting out of headlocks, getting out of, like, if you were stuck on a bus. There were all these interesting and fun exercises. But then I moved to study, and I tried various martial arts through my years in university, but I would always fall off when the exam period begins, which is ironically also the same time as when you start, when you would do the graduation for the martial arts. Is the same time as when you're doing your exams, so I never got further than the first belt. But I tried a couple of karate brands and a couple of jiu-jitsu types. I didn't try any of the other. I didn't try taekwondo or those, but I never got very far. I always got stressed by exams and stopped. Have I read Worn by Sophie Thornhauser? I haven't, but it's on my list. Is it good? Because I hear good things about it, and I really want to get started with it. And what did I study in university? I studied chemistry. I started studying general chemistry in my bachelor's. Excuse you, this is still not a scratching post. I started doing general chemistry for my bachelor's, and then I realized hard way, because I'd just been told that, you study STEM, science, technology, and you're gonna, that's important, like the government, no, not government, people need people to study STEM, and you'll have work security and everything will be good, and if you can study STEM and you can study chemistry, then you will have job security and everything will just work out for you. That was the story we were told, which of course is not true. You can't just magically study any STEM field and things will be okay. Please don't step on my computer again, madam. Good, very good. But after my bachelor, I learned that I didn't really want to make new chemicals, which would be organic chemistry. I wanted to analyze chemistry and sort of work with analytical chemistry, which I couldn't do if I stayed at the university where I was at, because they didn't have an analytical department. They had a couple of other things. So then I had to move again for my master's to do environmental analytical chemistry, which is where you go out and you get samples from industrial sites, wastewater plants, or maybe just groundwater, soil samples, and you take them back to the lab and you see if there are any, persistent chemicals in those samples. And then I went on to do a PhD with that, and we developed some of those methods to analyze samples for persistent organic pollutants, as they are called, which was very, very interesting. I had a lot of fun doing that, but I also learned that I am a much better support person than I am like the lead scientist, So I was much better, I was really good, and my supervisor realized this, I was really good at facilitating everything for our master students, as in, make sure they had all their equipment, they had all their chemicals, they knew all the lab techniques. I trained them in, to stay safe with health and safety, and so sort of taking care of people. I had that comes easy for me, but having to be the one to write, the research proposals and the research applications, and writing the Papers, that's very hard. But I think everyone finds writing papers hard. I got better at it, but it's a challenging. It's a very specific. Writing scientific papers is very, very specific. It has. You want to convey as much information as possible in very short sentences. You get a very dense. It's a very specific way of writing, and yeah, I struggled with that. It got better after a while, but I didn't feel like I would become a good, the next step for me would have been to level up in difficulty again and become a postdoc and maybe a researcher or a professor, but I didn't feel like I was going to be good at that. I didn't feel like I would be comfortable. It would be, again, I live with anxiety, but it felt like it would be a lot of anxiety, more than my tolerance level, if that makes sense, to just walk around and be anxious and stressed and trying to get grants and funding and taking care of everyone. I don't know, I thought that would be difficult. And then my and then we moved again to get spouse closer to their family, and that's where we are at the moment. We had some savings from my job as a PhD student, so that is what we're living off in part now to try to make this YouTube thing work. And that's it's a very brief summary. The boring pharmacist. I don't think pharmacists are boring. I studied with a lot of pharmacists. We did organic chemistry together and it was a lot of fun. I actually had one of the pharmacy professors trying to headhunt me to change from chemistry to pharmacy, but I'd already determined that I wanted to do analytical chemistry at that time. She was super, super nice. That was while I studied in the north of Norway, in the Sami area in Tromsø, and she was a Sami professor, and she worked with medicinal herbs and studying them and logging them, and it just ticked so many boxes of, oh my goodness, that sounds amazing. I want to work with medicinal plants and cataloging them and investigating their properties. But I was still very stuck in the mindset of you need to be useful at the time, which is not a very healthy mindset at all. So I was like, I think being an analytical chemist would be sort of more useful to the world, and so I chose that instead because I wanted to deal with, again, environmental stuff and making sure that companies are doing what they should in terms of pollution and how much chemical they release into the surrounding area and all those sorts of things. So that's what I ended up doing as my master's and my PhD. Medicinal plants and herbology are a lost art. Yeah, and here was a professor of pharmacology doing it as part of their pharmacology. She was amazing. She was super, super nice. And oh, you liked my last video. Thank you. It was a lot of fun to film. It was a very much looser, usually these talking head videos are a lot more researched than that one was. And here I just did a little bit of research and winged it, and that was nice. I'm trying to loosen up a little bit more, build more community and have more fun with it, and do research videos as well, but also do fun things, also interact with you and answer questions and try to have fun with it and do things. And I have a niece who lives in Voss with her hubby and son. Oh, that is lovely. I have a friend who lives in Voss too, actually. He lived in Tromsø at the same time as I was living in Tromsø, and he actually did karate with me. And Viking reenactment. Super, super lovely guy. Super friendly. And he had lived in Tromsø for a long time. And it was funny because he came from Voss. And Tromsø and Voss have very different dialects, but he, like me, sort of assimilates dialects when we live in a place for long enough. So when he would get a phone from home, you would hear him change dialects, and that was always super, super fun. But then his father died suddenly, and he had to go back home to take over the farm. So now he lives in Voss too. Maybe they know each other. That would be cool. Will I be doing historical reenactment again? I don't know, to be honest. I don't know because my migraines have gotten worse. So inside I can generally get away with these glasses that block out a little the blue light, and I have curtains that I can draw if it's a particularly bad day, although I'm also trying to learn that if it is a particularly bad day, I should probably just go to bed and not try to work all the time. But when I go to Viking markets, if I want to avoid getting a migraine from all the sunlight of being outside, I need to wear sunglasses and a sun hat and these glasses on top of that. And it is an accommodation, it is an accessibility thing, so it's not like the markets can deny me that. I usually still get migraines anyway, because being outside in the sun all day is still gonna knock me out, even if I have my meds. But it doesn't feel as authentic and fun to me to be at a market where I'm wearing sunglasses and the public sees me wearing sunglasses and they're very plastic and my friends can't really see my eyes, and I could force it if I want to, because I mean it's an accessibility thing, so it's the markets have to accommodate for that and let me in anyway, and they do, but it just doesn't feel as fun, if that makes sense. I don't engage, I don't feel as immersed as I used to when I was younger and I didn't have to wear those sunglasses all the time. So I have tried one market where I was wearing my sunglasses and it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same, and it made me sad, but I guess that is how it is. It's just kind of how life changes sometimes. Let's see, what type of karate did I do? I did Kyokushinkai. That was sort of the thing we had in my local town, and I found it later when I studied too, with that same friend from Voss. But I didn't do it for very long. I only had the first belt, not the white one, but the first one after that, because I was always stressed out by exams. Yeah, I have lived with migraines most of my life too, and it sucks. Absolutely sucks. I'm getting better at identifying them, which sounds weird because to many migraines are your head hurts, right? But for me, my primary migraine my primary migraine, the thing that happens, especially in the beginning, is that I get brain fog. So I get very heavy-headed, my brain turns sluggish, it goes slowly. So I often don't realize that I'm having a migraine before it's too late, because my brain just gets really, really slow and sluggish. And then my spouse has to go, "You are acting as if you have a migraine." And I'm like, no, I'm just feeling a bit tired. And then I'm like, oh, you are completely right. And after reading the Keeler Migraine Method, which is a very good book if you have a migraine, a bit thick, he's a bit verbose, but it's a very good book in terms of tips and tricks for working with migraines. Like, he talks a lot about how routine is the best you can do. Like, if you exercise, it's better to exercise a little bit every day than like 2 hours every Saturday or something like that. And same with regular meal times, regular sleep times, regular work hours. Just keep everything as routine as you can, and you will be more resilient to the other triggers. Like, stress is a trigger for everyone with migraines, but sunlight and stuff, your tolerance goes down if you're already sort of half stressed out by not having a good sleep schedule, not having a good food schedule, and all those things. So he talks a lot about that. I'm trying to do that, build those habits, but he also talks about something that I have never thought about before reading the book. Pre-treating migraines is allowed. We are allowed to take medication before the migraine hits if we know it's going to be a really bad day. So for instance, if we're attending a funeral or a party, or like a thing where I know that I will probably get a migraine, that book taught me that that you can take the migraine medication before you do the thing, and the thing will be easier, and the migraine at the end won't be so bad. Which is something we're still working on, but it's getting better. So if you get migraines too, if you know it's a really important event coming up, and you know it's going to give you a migraine, you are allowed to pre-treat it, and that has been magical for me. Yours sits on the right side. Yeah, mine sits on the right side too, is generally how I recognize it. I don't see double, luckily, but I do. My vision gets foggy, like it doesn't work quite right. And sometimes I need to get my spouse to log my migraine, because I have an app where I log all my medications and all my migraines. It's very helpful, that sort of diary, for seeing how the migraine is progressing. And when I got some of my meds, it was a requirement. And so sometimes they have to log the migraine for me, because I just can't look at a screen, even though all my electronics are on the lowest brightness. Oh, fragrance, yeah, that is a tough one. If there is people like, I don't like fragrances, but I have a lot of yeah, sensitive to light especially. But once you're in a migraine, everything is pre-treating is an interesting idea. Yeah, exactly. It makes so much sense when you actually think of it, but until someone actually tells you that you're allowed to do that, it never occurred to me that was something I was allowed to do. Because you're always taught, don't take too much medication, because that's not good for you, but in this case, it's allowed. Yeah, fluorescent lights are not friendly. They are not nice. Yeah, no medication that works for you. That is very unfortunate. Yeah, my sympathies. That is not very nice. This is turning into a migraine sympathy group. I'm sorry, so many people are having migraines too. That is not the best. It's not fun. What is the project I am working on? See, it's another scrap fabric, crazy quilt type thing. We have done 2 whole rows of embroidery floss so far. We have one yellow that is very uneven, because my hands were shaking from doing this live thing for the first time. And right now I am working on feather stitches in blue. I don't know if you can actually see that. So we haven't gotten very far at all, but it seemed like a nice brainless project that I could do while trying this live thing for the very first time. And it is turning out very much not perfect, but sometimes that is the charm of homemade things. Sometimes we want to make them as pretty as we can and as close to perfect as we can, but I don't mind, especially for crazy quilts, to do weird and to do wonky and just let it be what it is. Just let it be charming and imperfect and cute and stitches all over the place. The meds I have are interrupting ones, so they aren't really made for that. That makes sense. Yeah, the meds I have 2 meds. I have one that I take every day, that we started when I told my doctor that things were getting out of hand. I was having 8 to 12 attacks a month, so roughly a third of the month I was out of commission from a migraine, which is not great. So that's when we were like, okay, you need to start on what is known as prophylaxis, I think, which is sort of pre-treating the cause of the migraine, so trying to reduce both the frequency and the severity of the migraines. And luckily for me, the one we tried first worked really well, and that's what I'm still on now. How many months since we started it? I think we started it in August. Yes, so it's been a while, and it's been a massive change. Oh my goodness, it's been so much better. So that's the thing that I take every day, and then I also have those medication that are supposed to take when I get an attack, and I have 2 different ones. One works the best if I take it as soon as possible, as soon as I notice it, which I'm generally very bad at, and the other one works. I can take it a little bit later, but it isn't as effective. But if I am pre-treating, it is the first one that I take, the one that works if I take it straight away as soon as I notice the migraine, because if it's in my system and I start getting a migraine, it still works, which is great. What is my favorite embroidery stitch? Ooh, that's a tough one. I like them all. Oh no. I really like things that look like leaves. I had one once when I made some patchwork pockets where I started with feather stitch and then I did like chain stitch on every other, and I made, I think, French knots on the other stem. So like every other, it would be like some berries in French knots and then leaves and berries and leaves, and I just sort of, it became this vine, which I thought was really charming. I really like things that imitates nature and leaves and greenery. Nature is amazing and beautiful. It is. Yeah, I really like leaves and vines, and anything that imitates that is just my favorite. Am I feeling well doing this live? Yes, surprisingly. It is a little bit late for me, like it's getting on to 7:15, which is usually when I get tired, but I haven't been doing much today, I will admit. I have been quite calm and restful since it is Saturday, so it hasn't been too bad. But yeah, I'm doing quite well, which is also part of the experiment, to see how my brain handles this live thing if I'm too stressed. But I think the initial jitters have calmed down a little bit, and we are now just, I don't know, doing a word vomit, just blabbering along. And will I be making a bunch of squares and putting them together to make a quilt? Maybe. I keep thinking about things like that, and my only problem with quilts is that I need to have it in the background because it takes so long to do a quilt. So I need to have a project that could be done a little bit sooner and others that can be done a little bit faster, just to sort of have something that could be finished for an editing for a video, and something that could be something that could take half a year to finish, but it would be okay because I'm just doing it in the background, you know, so then suddenly it'll be done and I can edit it. It's the theory, but my brain usually works on one project at a time. I haven't managed to figure that out yet, but maybe one day. You feel cozy? Oh, that is so nice. That was exactly what I was hoping for. Just, you know, a chill stuff, sitting together, doing crafts together, having a cup of tea, and just relaxing. Because there's so much stress in this world, I feel. There are so few places we can sit down and rest and breathe, because we're always getting barraged by news and things, and yeah, sometimes we just need to be able to sit down and relax. The world doesn't want us to, that is, yeah, but we can do it here, and then we can go back into the world and do more things. But first we can take a rest. That is what I try to remind myself, that we are allowed to rest even if we feel like there's so much in the world that is broken and so much that needs our attention, but the world doesn't benefit from us just running on empty all the time. That is not, and that is hard to take time for ourselves when we are not told that we are sort of allowed to do that, but we are. I give you permission to rest, if that is what you need. Sometimes we need to be told and reminded that we can do a thing. Am I thinking I will do more squares of what I'm working on and put them together? Not for this one, because this one is already in the shape of a pouch. So I have like cut I don't know if this is going to be visible with all the stuff that is going, but it has like a half circle shape here, so it's going to become a little pouch eventually. But I have been thinking that is a cool way to do things, to make small squares and attach them. I've also been thinking that it could be fun to do a wool crazy quilt, where I just have a piece of wool backing and I just work on it on winter evenings, and one day 10 years from now maybe it will be done, because if it's a bed size quilt, then it's gonna take a while, especially if we do it all from scraps and tiny scraps. That's gonna be a challenge. But there's always more projects that we want to do than we can ever manage to actually do. So I have a Notion like project thing where I put all my ideas for videos, and it's so full. I couldn't begin to tell you how full it is, but it's nice to have a place to put them. So that way I don't have to try to carry them all in my head all the time. And also hexagons are cool. Hexagons are very cool. They're good shape. I like that shape. Yeah. Oh, you feel like you are functional but hardly skilled. I feel the same, to be quite honest with you. People tell me that I'm good at sewing, but I think it's just because I put it out there. And I just put myself out there. I just have the audacity to just go and do the thing. I learned, this is gonna sound really stupid, but I once heard someone talk about how they had talked to their imposter syndrome by being like, yes, I am in fact the imposter child of tricking everyone into thinking I actually know how to do the thing when I have no clue whatsoever. And I'm just gonna keep being this child of trickery and corruption until someone finds me out and calls me out and casts me into shadow. So until they do that, I am just gonna keep doing the thing. Which worked when I was working in uni, and it still works today. I feel like my videos are like, yeah, someone else could do this better, but I am the one doing it. I give you the audacity to just do the thing. Because someone else is going to do it anyway. Why not you? Why shouldn't you do the thing? Yeah, I'm sorry, Eleanor. I am not very good at keeping up with chat. I get lost in it trying to keep up. Don't worry, no apologies needed. It's my first live, as you can tell. Everything's a mess. We are a mess. We just go with the flow. Everything is alright. We are just chilling and doing the thing. Yeah, don't apologize. It's no wonder you didn't know it was a live stream until an hour later, because I didn't know that I was gonna do a live stream today. I have never, as I said in the beginning, I've been thinking about doing a live stream for a very long time, at least 6 months. Evie, you are here. Yeah, I was just getting into that, and how I have been bothering you and Shannon for months already, that I wanted to do a live stream and I couldn't work up the courage, and I wanted to and I couldn't, and I wanted to and I couldn't, and I just kept talking about it all the time. I feel like I talked your ear off, and yeah, and then I tried to do the thing. It was supposed to be at 6 p.m, but it took a lot longer to set up than I thought, so it ended up being, I think, 5:30 before I actually got things to connect. Because by my goodness, there was a lot more going on in the background than I thought it was going to be. It was not just, set up your camera, put on a microphone and click stream. There was all this other back-end stuff that, yeah, it took me a minute to figure it out. That's a fun strategy for imposter syndrome. Yeah, it's And I feel like it doesn't matter if it's a little bit mischievous or not, so long as it works. I have a lot of strategies that I don't think would work for everyone. Some of them are very strange, but if they work and they get a positive outcome, it doesn't matter. So long as we aren't hurting anyone and we aren't doing anything immoral or anything like that, like if a weird thinking trick works for you, use it, do it, trick yourself and do the thing that works. That is just, why not? It's not gonna hurt anyone and you'll get the thing done. Which I'm always a fan of getting the thing done. Anyone else find hand sewing easier than machine sewing? Yes. But it also very much depends. I mean, some projects, if I want to finish sometime this year, I do need my machine. Especially for very long, straight seams, you know? That are much faster. But a lot of the time I forget that I have a machine and I will pin my things and I will start sewing and I will be, halfway through the project and be like, wait a minute. I have a sewing machine. I could be done in less than half the time. You are glad I decided to try the thing? I am too. I am much less stressed than I was in the beginning. My hands aren't shaking anymore. So that is a good thing. What camera and microphone do I use? I have the Sony SV1. There were 2 cameras when I sort of saved up and we talked to my spouse about finding a camera. There were 2 cameras that had they needed a microphone jack and a hot shoe, and I needed some other features, and we decided on, there was one Canon camera and one Sony camera, and this one came on offer first. It was a Black Friday sale and we were like, it's 25% off, shall I get it? And we were like, yeah, absolutely we should get it. So I got it and I've been using that since then. The microphone, I don't actually know. That was also something my spouse got because they were going to interview people, so it has 2 microphones actually, and you need to use both or the sound will be weird. But I think it's a Boya is the brand. But yeah, it's just a little, it actually plugs in. I know most people have cameras that, no wait, not cameras, microphones that they just put in has a separate SD card and they put it in the waistband. This one doesn't have that. I'm physically plugged into my computer, which when I do filming I will forget, and I'm always worried that I'm going to pull the whole camera come crashing down with me, because if I forget that I'm plugged into my camera when I'm doing talking head videos, there will be bad things happening. Which is a bit funny, but it works. It's basic, but it works. I only started getting a camera because my phone, I have a Linux computer, I use Ubuntu, and it was very difficult to get footage off my phone. It took a long time, and it wasn't very efficient. But my first 2 videos are filmed on my phone, but then it became too difficult to get a footage off the phone and onto my computer to edit. So we were like, okay, saving up for a camera and making things a little bit easier. And we were supposed to share it. What kind of thimble is my favorite? This is actually a bit sad, but this is the old... Can you actually see this? Ooh. No wait, I'm a noob. This is the old thimble from Merchant and Mills. It's brass and it has a hole in the top and it's tapered so that it fits a wide range of fingers. But in the new one, when I ordered another one as a replacement, they had this bent metal on top. I assume because some people found this top sharp, but when they bent the metal on top, it doesn't fit my finger anymore. It keeps falling off and it doesn't work, and I'm sad because it is my favorite, but I only have this one and I can't lose it because they changed the design, so I can't get it back. But I also like... Is it Prim? I think it's Prim that has these plastic thimbles where you have a thimble part, hard plastic, where your pads, the pads of your fingers are, and then there's open silicone on the back, and they come in different sizes, so you find the one that fits you. But it has open silicone in the back, so there are breathing holes, which if you're wearing a thimble for a long time, they don't breathe very well normally. But these ones do. They're modern, they come in very nice colors, like purple and green and all the things, and I like those too. I just don't use them on camera because I don't think they're as aesthetic, but I do have a couple of those. I have them in small, medium, and large, so that when people ask me questions and come to learn hand sewing, I can find one that fits for them. Pardon, which is nice. You're terrified of sewing machines? It depends on what I'm doing. Straight seams are usually no problem. I haven't had a modern sewing machine in years, so I just have Freya, who you see on video all the time, and she only goes forwards. No backing up, no nothing, just straight ahead. And she does that job very, very well. She doesn't get into, you know, those very tight corners, and I typically do that by hand as well, because I just find that easier. Like those corners, like when you insert a pocket, especially the top and bottom, needs to be really, really hitting that spot where you're aiming for, and I find that much easier by hand. Stronger too. Hand sewing is enjoyable. Yes, hand sewing is very enjoyable. I like it. I think of it like, I don't know if it's a term, but like physical meditation, like you're doing a repetitive task and it calms you down and your brain just sort of soothes, and it feels very similar to meditation, but you're doing something with your hand and that sort of helps ground you, and I find hand sewing to be one of those things that really grounds me, and I find that very, very nice. Cooking can be a similar thing for me as well, like sort of all those tasks where I can feel my brain turn off because I'm just doing the thing with my eyes and my hands, and I don't actively have to think very hard about a lot of the things. Life is a cool thing. That is very nice. I wasn't sure anyone were going to show up, but this is a lot higher turnout than I had hoped to expect. Saturday morning with knitting and me time. That sounds so lovely. It's so important to have that bit of me time because we need it. We need to have us a me time no matter what we're doing. And I have the same accent as your stepdad. Interesting. Yeah, I don't really think about it a lot. I just do the thing, but thank you. I'm doing amazing, thank you. It's going a lot better than I thought, although I just feel like I am rambling, just completely off the rocker, just talking nonsense very fast, but that is purple thimble. I say yes. I think it is Prim that have them. I don't think I have one in the workroom easily accessible right now to find for you, but I have seen them in purple and pink. I have one in green, and they are plastic and they are very comfortable. They are much more fitted to your finger, and I like them a lot. I just gotten used to this brass thimble, but they are very nice. Leather thimble, yeah, that is, I have never tried a leather thimble, but they seem very comfortable. They seem very, very comfortable. I would always be nervous about it coming through my finger, but I think that is just my anxiety more than anything else. I don't think that is as big of a problem as my brain tries to tell me that it is. And oh, a Jubilee model. Yeah, my first and only electrical modern machine was also, it was black, so it didn't really look like an old machine, but I told myself that it did, and it was cozy and nice. But then I did get an old machine, so and then I kept moving, so I couldn't bring them with me, so I just kept the old machine because that was my precious one. Liv Elin, hiya! I have more and more friends coming in. This is crazy. I cannot just swap over to my North Norwegian accent because we are trying to keep this international. But hello, very nice to see you. It's crazy how many people have turned up for this impromptu madness. But thank you, everyone. I am having fun and games. I'm getting a harder time keeping up with chat, which is a luxury problem. Don't worry if you didn't catch the beginning of the live stream. You can always watch it later. It's not a problem. I am messing up my stitches again. What was I supposed to be doing? I'm supposed to be reading. As the goddess Freya is associated with sewing and influencing the future, I think she would be honored by her namesake. That is very, very true. My sewing machine is called Freya, and that is a good point. I shall be using that. I find handsome sewing becomes rhythmic and is meditative as slow stitching embroidery. Yes, it is very rhythmic, although I just need to do some simple stitches because I'm being a dum-dum trying to talk and sew at the same time. I am just making a mess of things. My rambling is enjoyable? Thank you. That is very nice to hear. Since I can only read you and I can't actually hear you, I suppose that is what we will have to live with. Have I tried a leather thimble? No, I haven't actually tried a leather thimble. I'm very fond of my brass one, but I haven't tried one. I do have leather working friends though, so I could probably acquire one. But I haven't tried one myself. Anything I have to leave? Well, bye. It is nice to have some company. I am not going quite yet. Oh gosh, is that the time? Have I been doing this for over an hour? For an hour and a half? Time flies when you're live streaming, apparently. Don't worry. It's okay to ask things several times. I will just answer as I manage to read the chat. And the stream is nice to have in the background while sewing. That is exactly why I wanted to do it. That is exactly what I hoped, that we could be sitting and crafting together and just have a good time and tune out the outside world for a moment and just chill. Oh, you did check it. It is Prim. Yeah, I thought it might be, but I wasn't entirely sure. I've seen them in a lot of sewing shops, at least in Norway. I don't know if Prim is the big dominant. I think they're a big dominant actor in other parts of the world too, but at least in Norway they have a lot of equipment. They have quilting, the wheel that you cut quilting fabric with, and they have needles, and they have darning mushrooms, and they have so much. I feel like whenever I go into a fabric shop, it's like 80% of the sewing equipment is going to be Prim. They have a lot of good stuff. I have a lot of Prim too. It's good quality stuff. I have no problem with them. It's good stuff. I wonder if I can get this chat a little bit bigger, because I have weak eyes that need glasses, but oh, so many people talking about their sewing machines. Yeah, we love a good working sewing machine. I am amazed at how well mine runs. Whenever she's being difficult, it's usually because I haven't oiled her in a while. I haven't found the right spot that needed oil, which is often because there are so many different areas that sometimes that is something that we need to check. Your grandmother left me a leather thimble? Oh, your grandfather made it for her. That is so lovely, Evie. I haven't thought about that. You can feel the needle. That makes a lot of sense. That is, yeah. But I mean, I've seen people sew holes in metal thimbles too, so it's not like you're safe no matter which one you do. But they're probably very nice to work with. They probably fit your finger very nicely, since leather is flexible and it can fit everything. Do I have any needle binding projects right now? Or no binding? No, not right now. I still want to make York socks, but I keep fumbling the beginning, because I'm used to beginning on the wide, with the ankle, and then working my way down to the toe with York stitch, which is what you would use for a York sock reconstruction. You can't do that. The stitch doesn't really work in that way, so I have to work from the toe, and I'm fuddling with how many increases I need to make that work. And of course I'm being stubborn, because whenever I see reconstructions of the socks, the stitches are a lot bigger than we see in the original, and I really want to try to see, can we get closer to the original with some thin yarn, how many stitches per inch and how many, like, which is ambitious and insane and all of the things, because that takes a long time to do so many tiny stitches. But that is one thing that I really want to do. That will be a lot of fun. Pardon. I have been wanting to do that for so long. I keep putting it off, but I really want to do that. A pair of the York socks with the York stitch. Because why not? Why not be a little mad? Holes in metal thimbles? Yeah. There is this Swedish woman on Instagram who sews a lot and by hand, and she routinely posts pictures of having poked holes in her metal thimbles, and I'm impressed. I've never done this. How do you sew so much and so hard that your metal thimble gets a hole in it? Ooh. I am scared, but also impressive. I am nowhere near that far yet. You're about to start your first hand-sewn garment? Oh, that is lovely! But luckily it's a peplos. Ah! Yeah, peplos are a good place to start since they are so nice and like loose. It's always good. I think skirts are also really great because you only need the waistband to fit and the rest can be nice, you know, triangles with the top chopped off, and that works very, very nice. I do like a good skirt. You're always amazed when you see excellent garments? Yes! The stitching is so fine. There are so many needle binding stitches that I'm used to seeing reproductions of, and we use thick yarn because it's easier for the public to see what we're doing and easier for us to see what we're doing too, and actually have a project that is finished. But some of the extant garments or the remnants that we find, they're so tiny. The stitches are so small and so detailed and so amazing, and I'm just amazed by people in history and how they could do things that a lot of the time we don't even know how to reproduce it. There are just so many cool things. And yeah, you have a metal thimble from your mom and she wore a hole in it. Yeah, that tracks. I haven't managed to do that yet, so I'm still a newbie sewist. I haven't worn a hole in my metal thimble yet. I shall gain that achievement at some point, maybe, if I am good enough. We are not there yet. I haven't earned that yet. Maybe that should be a fun achievement list as a sewist. Wear a hole in your metal thimble. Yep. Oh, you've been wanting to know about a cowl. That is lovely. I love cowls. I am getting more of them. Like, I have 2 cowls at this point. No, wait, yeah, 3. I have the old one that I made again, and then I have a new one. I love them so much because this is, I should try not to touch it, but this is where I get cold. You know, the top of the chest and my neck is where I will get cold if I get cold. So in, like, especially in spring and autumn when it's too warm to go full sweater, but it's too chilly to just walk around in your cotton underlayers like the sweaters and stuff, I will get my cowls because they are so getting the heat exactly where I need it. And cowls are fantastic. They keep you so warm for how small they are, like how small of a section of your body they are covering. They keep you so warm, and I just think they are amazing. If I write down my measurements and my number of stitches, we can make a scalable pattern for the York socks. That requires me paying attention to what I'm doing. I am not always very good at writing down what I'm doing as I'm doing it. I don't know if you noticed, but I tend to wing things a whole lot. Just sort of try it out until it works or doesn't work or fail or what have you. But maybe I'll try to pay attention to what I'm doing. But needle binding for me, I'm generally sort of just doing the thing until it is the right size and shape, and then if I'm doing it for someone else, then I need to borrow their body parts like feet or hands or whatever, and see how does it fit. So maybe, but my hope is that sort of if I just show how I did it and how I thought, you can adjust it and scale it to your own needs and requirements. Because I am not very good at following instructions when I'm crafting. I'm a bit of a chaotic crafter. It used to be a way for me to get out, chaotic energy so that I could be accurate in schoolwork and research and what have you. So I like to sort of go wild and out there with my crafting so that I sort of get that energy out, and then I can go back and do the meticulous research and the reading and the reference crafting, the building of the reference lists, and yes, I do use reference managers. Please, if you are researching, or do use reference managers. If you don't, then your bibliographies are going to be a lot more work than they need to be. Maybe she sews a lot of very tightly woven linen. Maybe. I know she sews a lot of hand woven things that she finds in secondhand shops. But yeah, it's amazing that she's worn holes in not just one but several metal thimbles. Are you the one who don't know how to use a thimble? You put it on and avoid using that finger. That is very common. Lee, don't feel bad about that. It took me 2 weeks of using a thimble every single day for several hours to get used to the feeling of wearing a thimble. Now if I sew without the thimble, I think it feels weird. I think it feels like it's gonna stab my finger, and I don't like it at all. But I had to sit down and prioritize learning how to get used to the feeling of having a thimble before it became a habit. It was super weird in the beginning. I didn't like it at all, but now it is okay. So just give yourself that time if you want to learn how to work with a thimble. Just accept that it's going to feel weird the first 10, 15 times. If you want to learn how to use them, it's okay. It's going to get better, I promise. If I want to do historical things, dress as a person in mourning. Very dark veil over my migraine gear. That is not a bad idea. The only problem with that is that the reenactment that I like to do is Viking reenactments, and we don't have a lot of thin fabrics for that period that we know of, and mourning gear and stuff like that. So I do cover up my hair. I have linen caps, and we do have a veil in front of the face, especially if it's close to medieval, and a straw hat if necessary. But I don't know of any black. But it's a good idea though. If I did any other periods, that would be a very clever way to deal with that. But for a lot of my friends, including Livelin in chat, it is Viking reenactment and medieval that we do, and there isn't a lot of coverings of the face to do that, but it is a very clever idea. I like it. You're spinning while enjoying my life. Oh, thank you. That is lovely. I have been wanting to learn spinning. I have roped Evie into teaching me at some point. We will figure out something, but one thing at a time. It will be down the road at some point, but that is one of the things that I want to learn eventually. So many crafts, so little time. Knitting a cowl as I watch Jessica. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, cowls are amazing. Love cowls. Do I wing stuff when making food as well, or do I follow recipes more strictly there? No. I know it would make sense if I followed recipes more strictly there, because cooking is so close to chemistry, but I don't. I cooked a lot when I was a child. I grew up from very early teenagers. I had the responsibility in my house to cook dinner several times a week, even like from very young. That was part of my responsibilities. So I have been cooking for many years. Very basic. I mean, this is not Michelin chef type cooking. This is rudimentary, basic, gets the job done, everyday food that fills you up and isn't very expensive or complex to make. So I have a lot of experience, I guess, with that. and that is, I like food, so I like to try new recipes, I like to try new things, I like to try making better food than that, but I'm also very happy to sort of make a bulk meal, put it in the fridge, and reheat that as I go. So no, I am a chaotic cooker. Cooker? I am a chaotic chef as well. Only if I'm like wanting to try a new recipe, I will follow the recipe, but often I am all over the place. I know some basic rules. I really liked the Samin Nosrat, the Netflix series about, what is it, salt, acid, heat, and oh, I can't remember the last one. No. That she talks about, you know, those basic building blocks of cooking, as opposed to following a recipe strictly. If you learn how the building blocks connect, then you can cook a lot of different things and use up the leftovers in your fridge and what have you, which I like using leftovers when I sew, I like using leftovers when I cook. I don't like wasting things in general. I think that is the general theme, that I don't like wasting things, and I find that it's a lot easier to use up everything in my fridge when I follow techniques rather than strict recipes, if that makes sense. Watching while you work on a headrest for school from Canada, that is fantastic. That is really cool. Headrests are cool. Thank you for doing the thing. Well, thank you for being here. You go do the thing too. That is what we're trying to encourage each other to do, isn't it? We shall do the thing, no matter what the thing is. Do the thing. You learned to use a thimble fairly recently? Since you couldn't find one that fits. Yes, they come in different sizes, and that is the big thing. If they're too big, they're just going to fall off. If they're too small, your hand is going to go, like your finger is going to go numb. Gotta find one that fits. Yeah, don't worry about it, we're all friendly here. I don't mind answering questions. That is part of why the live is here, yeah? Yes, Evie, you will teach me spinning. Fantastic. I look forward to it. I have been looking forward to that all winter. We just need some more spring weather for that. Do I think people winged their handwork historically? I got the sense there was a freer sense of doing things right in handwork in the past. I don't know. I think there's a bit of a mix. I get the impression from how a lot of at least recent sources talk about it that, I mean, I remember this anecdote that I think there were like Shetland sailors. They came ashore. Young women would sort of walk after them with a scrap piece of paper or something like that to write down the knitting patterns on their sweaters so they could copy it. I may be fumbling who was sailing where, but it was this thing about young women following the sailors around to specifically copy the knitting patterns so that they could reproduce them. And I get the impression that that is very much a thing. I mean, we know regions have very specific crafting skills and preferences in what they like to do, that they probably taught from, you know, mother to daughter, and regional differences, and that they had, you know, things. I think they had examples to work from that they could copy precisely and things like that, but still have some room to be creative. I hope so. I'm not quite sure. You know, the reference work is a bit scarce, but I hope there is a mixture of creativity and following whatever the tradition was in the past. You think the winging it is how we have so many different traditions? Yeah, I hope that is part of it. Like someone tries to do a thing, or someone in town is known for doing a very specific and pretty technique. I mean, it's all guesswork, but hopefully, maybe, that is... It's difficult to say. Maybe we will get some sources on that, really. You enjoyed the tablet gingerbread? That is good. That was fun. As everything, it took a lot longer than I thought. Silly me thought it would be like 2 days of filming. It was still the full week. But these things happen. That's just how it is. It was a lot of fun. I want to do a tablet weaving project again. I have so many patterns that I want to recreate on videos for you to see, because there are so many beautiful historical ones. And simpler ones too, but so many beautiful ones. A crafter gone rogue? Yes. Hello. It is I. I'm not very good at following instructions all the time. I like winging it. I drove family members mad as a child. And you would hear my brother would ask why he had to do the thing and follow the recipe when I just did whatever I wanted, and I would get a very snide comment in the background that for some people the path is made as you walk it, referring to me not very impressed that I wouldn't just follow the damn recipe to the letter of the word every time. I always had to change something. That is, yeah, that is still what I do. That's just I've always done it like that. I don't know. I like doing it like that. No specific reason. I just enjoy winging it. Oh, you went to culinary school and we were taught to use methods rather than recipe. Yes, it is a lot easier to substitute things when it is a method that you're using rather than a very strict recipe that you're following. But whatever works for people and get them fed and get them crafting, I am all here for it. You always need to use 2 different sizes as my hand changes side. As they're hot or cold. That is true. So, like, depending on winter or summer and hot and cold, I also have some of that, which is why I like this one with a hole in the top, because it will fit me no matter what. But yes, the hands changing sizes is definitely a thing. Having a spare thimble is not a bad idea anyway. Oh, it's from the Golden Fleece. Right, Evie, thank you for giving that reference. But I always thought that was a really fun story, because so many of the stories I grew up with was, about women chasing sailors because they were attractive, but chasing them for patterns is fantastic. I love it. Like, so fantastic. That is amazing. I really like that. It shows that it was important to have new patterns, to find new patterns and have something different, because I think people always want to stand out within whatever culture they have, whatever is allowed. Like in Tromsø, where I studied for a time, there were stories that the cultural dress, the bunad that they had there, was very colored by, they would have these beautiful multicolored silk scarves, because it was very big that young men went off to sailing for a couple of years and earn enough money to, take care of a family, and then they would propose to their sweetheart. And one of the things they would often bring back that was a very popular gift was, was to bring back these beautiful, beautiful silk scarves from the east, from Asia. And so you would have these women wear their wool skirts and their bodice and their white linen shirts, and then these very colorful silk scarves. And they really stood out wearing those. So sort of, I think there is this desire within humans to stand out, but like within what is socially acceptable, within whatever culture or time we find ourselves in, if that. At least I like to think that maybe that is part of it. I don't know. How can we know for sure? Do I find that my ideas change as I'm actually doing the thing? Yes, they frequently do. I've talked about before how I like to adapt my project to whatever material I'm using, so that if I don't have enough fabric, and I had all these plans for ruffles and details and extra fabric and what have you, then if I don't have enough fabric, I can't do that. Then the plans need to change, and I don't mind that. Sometimes I will change whatever fabric I have in stock, and sometimes I won't. I will just use the thing that I wanted to use, and things will change. Sometimes I do dum-dums while I craft and have to adapt, either unpick everything or just accept whatever I did. I think with more skill, what I plan is more, what I plan in my mind is more and more realistic to my skill and my time and what my understanding of how sewing works. So the more I do it, the more I learn, and the easier it gets to accurately predict what you are actually going to make is actually going to be the thing that you are making. But it still changes a bit as I go. Sometimes I don't know the end product until I've made it, because I'm just like, I want to make this thing. I don't know exactly how it's gonna look, but we're gonna start, and then we're just gonna let it become what it becomes, and we're just gonna do one step at a time. Those projects can be a lot of fun. I never know how long they're gonna take, but they can be a lot of fun. Hello, Canon Black. Nice to see you. Goodbye, Jessica. Have fun. What are we working on today? We are doing a crazy quilt, another pouch. I'm making this for a friend. I wasn't going to make a full video out of it because I already did that. But yeah, it's going to be exactly the same pouch as I made for the video because I had more fabric. And we are doing the embroidery stitches. I am doing very simple embroidery stitches because whenever I try to do a more complex one, I don't know if you can see the beginning of this yellow one. Whenever I try to do a complex one while I'm trying to read the chat and answer questions and comments, my brain turns to mush and everything becomes chaos. So I am keeping to very, very simple stitches and trying to interact with chat at the same time and I don't know, be mildly entertaining. I usually have editing to help me with that. I don't have to. Yeah, bye Evie, nice to see you. Talk to you later. But yeah, try to be mildly entertaining, which I usually have editing and writing and planning to help me with that. I don't usually wing it, so here we are. But yeah, bye Jenny. You have a nice evening too. I think, oh my goodness, is it 8 p.m. already? No wonder I am getting less and less coherent as time goes by. I probably won't be able to stay much longer myself either. I can feel myself starting to get... we talked a bit earlier about migraines and how routines really help people with migraines because you are sort of lowering the stressors of things, and that means that other triggers get easier to deal with. And one of the things that I have is, luckily for me, I'm also autistic and routines suit me, but I am not an evening person. I am a morning person. I stop, and that is not, I am better than anyone else. It's just that I stop functioning after 9 p.m. completely. If you have met, an evening person and they are like, ooh, walking around, I live with one, that's why I know, before they wake up, they are just completely out of it and trying to wake up for several hours. That is how I get in the evening. Completely incoherent, just my brain is a mess, everything is slush, so I just go to bed because brain no work anyway. And I've just always been like that. I don't work in the evening. Other people go to parties, I fall asleep. It can be a little bit socially limiting, but what can you do? Let's have tea in the afternoon instead when I'm actually awake. That lamp is beautiful? Yes, it is so beautiful. It has little dragonflies, it has 3 of them. I just got it. It actually has a bit of a sad backstory. A friend of ours, her mother passed away, and they are going through the apartment right now to, clean it out and do the things that you have to do when someone passes away from us. And they didn't want this lamp, and they gave it to me. And I think that is so sweet. A bit sad, but also very, very sweet. So I like it a lot. I have now 2 very nice lamps, one that looks like a flower and this one that is also full of flowers and dragonflies, and I'm very fond of them. They are very sweet. I like them. They bring me joy, if not the most light to sew by, then very much a nice mood to work on. Getting enough sleep is important for migraine patients, yes. And lowering our stress levels in general, regular meals and regular exercise and all of the regularity and all of the things. and luckily for me, I know this is harder for some people, but luckily for me, I generally work very, very well with routine. I'm very grateful that my brain takes to routine very well. Sometimes it can be a bit much. Sometimes, it's a bit, I should go out of my routine and go do other things, and I don't want to because I have my routine. I want to do my routine. I don't want to do this other thing. It breaks my routine. But most of the time, it is very nice. But yeah, this has been lovely. I did not notice so much time passing. My goodness. But yeah, I'm glad people have a good time. Yeah. Hopefully I will work up my courage after this was so successful the first time, and we can do it again some other time, and people bring their crafting and their sewing, knitting and crocheting and all of the things, and we'll just have a chill time. Next time, my one goal is that I think I want to try to figure out if we can have some background music. I know there are ways to do this. I think that is one thing that I would like to figure out for a next time. That could be very, very cozy, I think, to just have something going on in the background. You're looking forward to the next stream already? No promises. Streams are scary. Being live and unedited and unbound is wildly terrifying. Luckily, we have a very nice community. It is a very chill place to hang out. But yeah, I think I need to start wrapping up because I am getting sleepy and incoherent and should go brush my teeth. But thank you everyone for joining me on this first crafting and chill. It has been so nice talking to you all, a lot more live than we usually get when it is comments on videos. I like it. I think I'm gonna have the courage to try it again. And next time you think you'll be on time to participate more, that's completely up to you. That is completely fine. And it's hard to be on time when I didn't know I was doing it until I was doing it, I had the advice that it would be a good idea to put up the stream in advance so that like an hour or two before people would get like in YouTube that a live is coming in an hour or two. I didn't do that today specifically because I had never done it before and had no idea what I was doing. Which turned out to be fortunate because we were half an hour later than I thought we were going to be because things took a lot more setting up than I thought it would. But maybe for next time I will try to do that. Hopefully it'll be a lot easier the second time. Nice to meet me more or less in person. Well, I mean, as much as these digital age permits. Don't worry about being on time. I don't know if this will be a regular thing, but I'll try to have a little bit of an alert so that people can know it's coming. Abandoned projects are a good idea. That is very good. I always like to get those unfinished objects, all those UFOs, out of the way before I give up on them and just unravel it and start anew, because that happens a lot. But yeah. But I think that will be it from I can word. That will be it from me today. Thank you everyone for coming. This was so lovely. I had a really, really good time. I just wish that I could see what everyone's crafting, but that is the limitation of the live stream format, I suppose. But thank you everyone. This was a lot of fun. Happy crafting, happy the rest of your day, whatever the rest of your day looks like for you, and I will see you I will see you all later, hopefully. Bye.